What's good, y'all? It's that boy, Easy Millions, and I'm your host of That Boy ETV. And you already know, man, we are back on Black Ops 6, and we got two things that happened recently that are big in reference to Call of Duty, and that's going to be that Season 5 is now here, and the release of the Battlefield 6 beta, man. So real quick, when it comes to Season 5, man, again, it's more of the same. Outside of the one good thing I will say is this time, when I loaded into the game, I was, the first thing you see is the little trailer, and it's more militaristic or more grounded in military than recently, because I feel like the last few seasonal updates, as soon as you logged on, there was some dumb event that was splattered all over your screen, like the Seth Rogen event, and then with the last update, the Beavis and Butthead one. So again, I'm feeling like, wow, is Call of Duty trying to go more grounded again because Battlefield 6 beta just recently released? It's kind of funny, man. Now, other than that, you know, we have the basic battle passes there. We have some new weapons, of course. And then we have the maps. The maps are probably the most important thing. I played WMD, and of course, it's WMD. It's fine. It's a reused map from a better Call of Duty. We all know this. Now, the other map that I played prominently in the Season 5 Mosh Pit was the Exchange map. That is the new 6v6 face-off map. And I gotta say, man, I cannot stand this map. This is probably, like, so far, I've been primarily playing more 6v6 face-off because I just prefer those outside of the Nuketown map. This is probably another map that I'm probably going to actively avoid because it's like when you're playing this map, and you'll see it here in the background, because in the background will be a mixture of both Call of Duty and Battlefield 6 gameplay, because once I start talking about the Battlefield side 60, I want y'all at least see what's going on, see how it is. But when you're playing on Exchange, it's like everything on the map gives you damn near a head glitch, or the cover is about chest high. It's crazy. When you're playing this map and you're trying to aim at people, it's like you're constantly having to aim at a very little small silhouette area in order to hit them because of the way the map is designed. And then there's clutter everywhere, and it's extremely small. This is probably the worst face-off map I think that they've brought in with the seasonal updates. But let me know how y'all feel about these, man. How do y'all like Exchange? How do y'all feel about WMD? Right? But let's get into the real big thing here about the Battlefield 6. I'm sorry, about the Battlefield 6 beta being released and how this will affect Call of Duty, right? So the first thing we got to say is, will Battlefield 6 kill Call of Duty? And let's be honest, by no means will it truly kill COD. Why is this? You're going to have fanboys of Call of Duty that are dedicated to the game, and there's going to be enough of them to sustain this game for a while, right? Now, how do we explain the massive numbers and player counts that we've seen on the beta when Call of Duty is available right now, and how will that translate into when the game is actually released, right? So, in my opinion, what's going to happen is the game's going to release, and it's going to have a huge player base in the beginning. I think the player base of Battlefield 6 will be huge because not only are you going to have the Battlefield 6 players coming, but you are going to have a huge chunk of Call of Duty players coming over as well because they are tired of what's currently going on in Call of Duty. But we also have to keep in mind that a lot of these same players that are coming over to Battlefield 6, they're going to end up going back to Call of Duty because Battlefield 6 is not truly going to scratch the itch of most COD players, right? So the main mode in Battlefield 6 is Conquest, or big team battle mode. Most COD players know this is Ground War. We do understand that Ground War was in Call of Duty at one time, and it was not popular amongst Call of Duty fans. Now, was Ground War a bad map? Or not a bad map, a bad game mode? No, it wasn't. It had vehicles just like Battlefield 6. You had helicopters and vehicles and tanks that you can get into. You're riding off to points to go get it. But at the end of the day, Call of Duty players do not want to play ground war. So I think what's going to happen is a lot of Call of Duty players are going to go over to Battlefield 6. They're going to realize that the main way to play this game is essentially ground war, which they are probably not really going to want, because they're going to want the more Call of Duty experience. So they're going to want the more TDM, domination, things like that. Hardpoint, right? Now, there is a small team battle section, because in the beta, they do allow you to play King of the Hill, which is kind of like Hardpoint. And then they also let you play Domination, which is very similar to game modes that we have in Call of Duty. Now, when it comes to this, it's going to harken back to, okay, well, I want to play Team Deathmatch, Kill Confirm, Hardpoint. I want to play that while playing my first-person shooters, or what arcade style game modes, opposed to the sandbox shooter that is Battlefield. So, but now, are the Call of Duty players going to want to play Team Deathmatch and Kill Confirm and Domination with Battlefield movement, Battlefield weapons? Or are they going to want to go back to Call of Duty for that feel? Also, we have Warzone that is also going to compete with this, right? There is no Battle Royale right now for Battlefield 6. I think I may have heard that they might be considering it. But again, I don't see why Battlefield. I think they did try to have a battle royale in the last Battlefield, so I can see why. I mean, again, it's just trying to capitalize on something that's popular. But at the end of the day, what it's really going to come down to is, do you prefer the movement of Call of Duty, the movement and gunplay of Call of Duty, opposed to that of Battlefield 6? Right. Another thing I noticed with Battlefield 6, I think some people might notice, is, to me, I felt like when I was shooting a gun, it didn't feel as powerful as, I don't know, when I'm shooting in Call of Duty. Maybe I feel like when I was shooting the guns in Call of Duty, it felt a little bit better. So I think that's the thing right there. Now, I also feel like at the end of the day, the way that Battlefield 6 has always been second place to Call of Duty, and I feel like right now Call of Duty has so much hate around it and so much dumb things that the devs are doing and focusing on so many wrong things, that a lot of the player base will go over to Battlefield 6, like I said initially, and it's going to have an amazing honeymoon phase. I think Battlefield 6 is probably going to have its best honeymoon phase that it's had in a long while. But again, with Conquest being the main mode of this game, I don't see all the Call of Duty players staying for just that game mode alone. I guess a good way to put it is, Call of Duty players didn't want to play ground war when you gave it to them. The same way that Battlefield 6 players aren't trying to play Call of Duty when they get on Battlefield 6, which is why things like Team Deathmatch and all of that is secondary to the Conquest mode. Because you have a sandbox shooter trying to appease an arcade shooter crowd, when that arcade shooter crowd isn't really into sandbox shooters truly. Because if that was the case, ground war would have been a lot more successful in Call of Duty than it was. But we have some type of evidence or some type of example we can look at to project and believe the way and the traits of how the player base will treat Battlefield. I do think they're going to get on, they're going to love it for a period of time, and they're going to revert back to what they were playing, and we'll see Battlefield 6 come right back to where it's always been. But let me know down in them comments, man, how do y'all feel about the Season 5 and the new maps? And if y'all have played the beta for Battlefield 6, let me know how y'all feel about that and how this will overall affect Call of Duty moving on into the future, man. Let me know down in them comments, and let's get a conversation started, man. But until then, I'm going to leave y'all off with the rest of this gameplay here in the background, and I hope y'all enjoy that, man. But as always, please like, comment, subscribe, follow, share, become a supporter, and catch me streaming on Facebook Gaming and Twitch at ThatBoyETV. Now, catch you on the next one. I'm out. Peace.